All right. Sorry about that. I had to restart the stream. A little technical snafu. But I think I have it all figured out now. Let's scan, see what we got out there. Bracket settings on. Oh, I do have bracketing on. Oops. That messed things up. There we go. That zoom anymore a little bit. The ground looks a little tore up right there. Doesn't look like anything burrowed like a badger. Could be an elk. Hey Mars, how you doing? How you doing this afternoon? Sunday afternoon. Let's see here. I don't see any movement. Actually, it's funny you say that because I had a wild rabbit move into my yard sometime the past couple weeks. They're doing a lot of construction nearby for new housing and leveled a lot of the fields, and there's been rabbits all over the neighborhood. We've actually got a little baby jackrabbit living in our backyard. Just kind of leaving it there. I'm just getting out. Didn't really feel like, what's that? Oh, it's just a crow. Didn't really feel like sitting at home and streaming. I've been grinding a lot at work. That's why I'm not doing anything lately. Is I get off work and I don't want to be another video call essentially. But I did want to stream, but I didn't want to be at home. So I lugged a bunch of my gear out here out to the field to try to find some balance. Just get back out, start trying to shoot again, just see animals. So hopefully, I don't know. In the past, spotted a lot of bobcats out here, badgers. There's a small herd of elk. There is a bear in the park, but he's never sighted in this particular area, so I don't anticipate seeing the bear. And I really am not holding my breath for the mountain lion either. It'd be cool, but I was trying to do something new. Let's see here. Check the stream health. Which video ended? This? This hasn't ended. I've had this hawk that's been hanging around my yard for a few months now. Oh, nice. Yeah, last house I had two hawks living in my backyard in a tree. Cooper's hawks, smaller than your normal hawk. Who knows, maybe it's getting territorial on you. Oh, man. Which video ended? This tells me the stream's still going. Oh, do you have a connection hiccup? I see. Yeah, it might have been. I don't get any alerts on my side. Everything looks pretty normal. If anything, YouTube's saying I have a very good connection out here. Well, it keeps telling me my bit rate's lower than usual. I don't know why. My bit rate's actually higher than what it's telling me I'm broadcasting at. So I guess we'll see how this video actually looks at the end of the day. Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's getting territorial on you. You know what kind of hawk? Red tail or red shouldered? I had Cooper's hawks living in my backyard at my last house. That was pretty cool. Then we got the puppy and told the kids don't let the puppy out alone with the hawks hanging around. They will carry him off. Can zoom anymore? No, I can't. Probably just a bush. For a second, right there in the middle, I thought I saw bobcat colors. But it's not moving at all, so it can't be a bobcat. And it's kind of similar to this color up here, so I think it's just a bush. But it's about the right color for a cat. I'm checking all these little clearings between the shrubbery. You know, quite a ways off, I won't get any kind of good pictures at this distance, but if I can at least spot an animal, I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, Harrison hawk? Oh, okay. I don't think we have Harrisons out here. Let me check here. Do a good old search. Oh, Harris Hawk. Okay, Harris Hawk. No, at least not in my region. It's a cool looking hawk, though. Well, let's say southwestern United States down to Argentina. There might be some. Actually, I'm checking the map. No, it wouldn't be up in my region. At least not according to the map. Now, granted, animals don't care about our maps. I've had to argue with a lot of DNR back when I lived in Michigan about that. We used to find a lot of very suspicious signs of mountain lions. For a long time, the DNR, Department of Natural Resources in Michigan, they were like, no, there's no mountain lions in Michigan. And we'd find really big paw prints, claw marks in trees. And at one point, we reported on full-grown deer carcasses that were being dragged up in trees. Called out the DNR. And the ranger, I get it, right? He's probably not authorized. He doesn't want to stick his foot in his mouth and get quoted by saying it's probably a mountain lion. But his choice words were, must be a feral cat. Yeah, a feral cat drug a whole freaking deer up into a tree. Listen, I get why they probably can't go on record and say, oh yeah, it's probably a mountain lion. He could have, said stuff like, it's unusual. We should check it out. Thanks for reporting. But when they make condescending remarks like that, it just kind of irritates you, And so it's like, it wasn't until like trail cams got real popular, people started capturing mountain lions on trail cameras. And they would have like a frame of reference. They'd have like a bush or a rock. And they would have like a bear walk by it in one video, and then another video clip would be a mountain lion walk by it. So it's like, there's your frame of reference. And people I knew were turning that over to the DNR, and the DNR was just like, it's probably a really big bobcat. Some bobcats have longer tails than others. I'm like, bobcats have tiny tails. Mountain lions have really long tails. There's no gray area where one could be mistaken for the other. Both tail size, color patterns, and physical size. And then finally, like, I think a mountain lion got hit on the highway. And then that's when the DNR was like, we've discovered that there's mountain lion activity in the state. But I remember when we were arguing with the rangers, they would pull up these maps and be like, there's no mountain lions that go past this line right here. That's what I hate about the government officials for wildlife. They draw these lines on the maps and say, there's no bears past this line. There's no mountain lions past this line. No wolves past this line. And like the animals are sitting around, it's like, whoop, can't go any farther. There's an invisible line right there. They're going to do what they're going to do. How far am I zooming in here? This is 600 millimeters. I have a 60 to 600 lens on. So that's full zoom out. I really like this lens because I take this on vacations and I rarely have to swap out lenses for anything else. And then boom, 600. I got this lens a little before my last Yosemite trip, or not Yosemite, Yellowstone trip. So it was very handy. But even like here in this park, this part of California, the farmers and whatnot basically exterminated black bears decades ago. Well, through just natural instincts, looking for food, habitat, bears keep migrating down from other counties. And they used to catch them, tranquilize them, and relocate them. Now there's actually a few that have moved down. I think they've just given up, which they should. I mean, if bears are naturally migrating back to where they used to live, you should allow it. This is a national park. It kills me, though, the hippies out here who are all natural and keep things pure. They're the ones freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, the bears live here. It's like, yeah, where they used to naturally live. So it just kills me. They're all freaking out. Like, we don't know how to live with the bears. And people are like, why don't you ask people that live in Tahoe? They live around bears 24/7. Don't pretend to be all one with, nature and hippie-ish and then freak out because an animal reclaims its natural habitat. So I really hate people in the state sometimes, or at least this region, this particular area. God, they're so hypocritical. Yeah, we got a lot of yellows. I pan the camera. You'll probably see more. So, we're still late summer, or late spring, early summer, right? There was another place I actually wanted to go to this morning, and I drove out there, and it's just got too much spring overgrowth. This is way too thick. I mean, this is fairly thick too, but it's thicker than this, and this is going to be hard enough as it is to see like a bobcat in. If the elk come rolling through, I'll see them. I should be able to make out a coyote. I heard some coyotes a ways off. A badger is going to be really hard. I mean, they're elusive as it is, but I'd love to get myself another badger. It's been a while since I had a badger sighting. Let's have a look here. Now, typically what I run into out here is a lot of the cats, a lot of the animals will patrol in these little paths, natural paths between these bushes, and that's where I'm kind of watching. Obviously, I can't look into a bush, so the best I can do is scan the clear areas between the bushes. Even if I don't get a good photo, I just want to see something before I go back home. Same kind of thing hurts my brain here in Finland. Oh, you're in Finland, nice. The Lat folk, the city, they speak loud about forest keeping. Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess you're going to find that anywhere, right? Maybe the cat's just behind you, That's not impossible. There's a whole other field, other side of this hill, where I've seen cats at. In fact, last time I was out this park, I was with a friend, and we were driving down one of the side roads, and I could see a group of photographers up on a ridge line scanning a hill, and the opposite direction they were looking, which is the road out we were driving on, there was a bobcat running up the road, looking behind him, looking at the photographers, like, haha, I got away. Then he saw us and he darted off. But it's happened a lot. I've seen a lot of pictures of like photographers in a group all looking one direction, and like a grizzly bear or wolf walks behind him at Yellowstone. Now we've been having small packs of wolves making their way back to California. Right now they're all in the east part of the state, in the mountains. Exact locations being kept very quiet for, I think, very good reasons. I'm just wondering how many more years, 10, 15, before any of them potentially migrate to the west side of the state towards the coast. The Bigfoot territory was a few counties north. Mars monkey. I'm gonna scan up this ridge line over here. Do quick battery checks. Oh, batteries look good. Batteries look good. Nothing there. I'm getting a little bit of light mist. It's not raining. We just get this coastal fog, this low-lying fog that kind of, or clouds, fog, cloud, whatever, you get it. That kind of just moves through in waves, and every now and then you get like this light mist on your face, but it's not actually raining out here. There have been occasional cases of wolves or some cats following people around while they are hiking. Very rare, though. I understand that black bears are more aggressive. I mean, really any animal can be aggressive, right? Even a deer, wrong time of the year, wrong season, cornered. People don't know that. Even your typical traditional deer can get up on its hindquarters and smack the shit out of you with its hooves. Bears, yes, I've had one aggressive like run-in with a black bear. In general, a lot of black bears aren't that bad. Most times you can yell at them, raise your arms, they run off. Now, grizzly bears, however, that's another story. And then you have your polar bears, and they're just savage. You know, definitely blacks. I mean, any bear with its cubs, dangerous. Food, a bear that's used to, I think most aggressive cases with black bears that don't involve cubs are bears that have grown used to human food, like looting coolers at campgrounds. And then those have traditionally become, I won't say, okay, yes, aggressive, but aggressive in a way that they're a bit more bold. Because a lot of times, a lot of bears I've run across can be very timid. And other times, they're timid or they just kind of don't care. Like they see you, they're not going to walk closer. They're just going to go about their business. Even I'd say a lot of times grizzlies will be like that. But grizzlies will definitely tend to be a lot more dangerous. Like when they get aggressive, black bears like my encounter, black bears can do what's called like a bluff charge, which I don't think they're, well, I mean, any bears can do it, but I think black bears are more prone to, at least my experience, is where they do a full-on charge like they're going to attack. At the last minute, they either stop or they peel away. In my case, she was peeling away, like 5 feet away from me. She would just turn. Grizzlies, in my opinion, are a lot less inclined to bluff charge. If they're charging you, they're charging with intent. That's the best way to put it. You better be pulling out your sidearm if you're being charged by a grizzly. Unless it's a juvenile. I think a juvenile would be more inclined to bluff charge than an adult. Let's see comments here. We've only had brown bears here and like to keep their distance, go away. Oh yeah, browns. I'd put browns up close to grizz. Some people would put them like between black and grizzly, closer to grizzlies as far as being dangerous. But I never really have dealt with browns, just the grizzly and the black. The interesting thing about black bears that throws a lot of people is not all black bears are black, actually. They actually have several colors they can be. So it's funny is they can be a brown and then kind of a blonde. And so a lot of times people see a brown black bear and think it's a grizz. So I think knowing that, but also knowing that they're physically different. I'm not sure how browns are physically different, to be honest. I just know how grizzlies are physically different from blacks. And so I don't go off fur color. First thing I look at is the face. Black bears have longer snouts. Grizzlies are a lot shorter. Grizzlies are also adults considerably larger, and they have a hump over their front shoulders on their back. Black bears usually don't have much of a hump. It's kind of like their spine and then their butt. Grizzlies have a very notable hump in their back over their shoulders. And grizzlies are said to have larger claws, but to be fair, I'm not usually looking at claws because claws should be in the grass. If you see a grizzly's claws, it's either dead and you're looking at it in the back of a truck for a ranger, or that's the last thing that you've seen. Usually don't get too close. I try not to, that's probably the last thing I would use to judge what bear I'm looking at is its claws. I don't want to get close enough to see what kind of claws it has. Nobody carries sidearms here. Again, my assault rifle needs a bit different hunting permit. Do you carry bear spray at all? Any kind of like deterrent spray? I usually do. Bear spray, sprays like that are kind of heavily recommended at parks like Yellowstone. In fact, you can rent them at the national parks. Now, the ironic thing is national parks in California ban bear spray. It's technically illegal to carry deterrent in national parks. And I'll be honest, when I go out in the backcountry, I carry whatever, but not really for bear. If I'm carrying bear spray, it's not for bear. That's for anything else that might attack, including humans, even though that's technically not legal to use bear spray on humans. But the way I look at it, if you're attacking me in the middle of nowhere with the intent to do great harm, the last thing that's going to go through my mind is whether or not I should legally be allowed to use bear spray on you. Just saying. That's just my thought on that one. Let's check the ridge line over there. this is my, you probably know around here, BBL. This is my first nature live stream I'm doing outside. I'm also testing to see like how well the battery power on my devices holds out, as opposed to, you know, streaming at home, which you can just run forever as long as your internet doesn't die. So I'm seeing how many camera batteries I go through and how many batteries for the transmitter and receiver for the HDMI. And then the laptop. And I have a battery unit for my satellite internet, portable battery unit. So that's supposed to last 6 to 9 hours. We'll see. I just picked it up just this past week. So it's kind of a logistical test also. You know, do people like these kind of streams, and how hard are they to manage logistically? Have no need. Been deep in forest through my life. Last time a bear killed a person was 1998. That was only a case in the last 100 years. There's been a few injuries. Yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot of bear deaths that happen in the U.S. either, even if they're grizzlies. I think like Yellowstone wants people to carry mace, well, because people are also carrying food and attracting bears. Now, a lot of them don't know what they're doing outside either. But actually, some of the bigger parts like Denali and Yellowstone, the most dangerous animal I've come across isn't a bear. It's a moose. The short leg spikes are on every minute. Okay, interesting. I'll have to check my performance here. Probably because I don't have the clearest view of the sky for my satellite. Take a look at it here. Let's see, alignment. And my alignment's a little bit off too on the satellite. I can try to adjust that. Yeah, moose are actually more dangerous. Considerably more dangerous. Let's see. I'm trying to realign the satellite here. That might have a signal drop a little bit while you're all watching. I'm not on the flattest ground here either. It's kind of hard to get things lined up really well. Give me a second. Overall speed tests weren't bad. I mean, I got decent speeds, just okay, that's how it's got to sit. That's how it's got to sit. All right, give me a second here. I think I found how I need to set my Starlink. Had it way off. There. Now it says Starlink is aligned. There's a cat left top corner. Let's see here. That's actually a coyote. Good call out, man. Thank you. There's a lot of coyotes out here. I generally don't worry about coyotes in this park. I guess like some places where they travel in bigger packs, they can be potentially more dangerous to, animals or kids. I've never personally had an issue with coyotes. The ones out here don't really seem to run in packs. They're usually solo, maybe in pairs. He's watching me. He knows I'm over here. Probably can hear me. Oh, no problem. So this is an experimental kind of live stream. Just kind of figuring out the gear placement. It's kind of tricky. But I think I got the dish better aligned. It's going to have some obstructions with bushes. But overall should be better aligned. Oh, he's on the other side of the hill. So it's really interesting. There's a lot of cases where coyotes have been seen working with badgers, even like playing with them. I've actually witnessed it out here at this park about 4 or 5 years ago. I actually had a wildlife biologist next to me watching it. And he just said, yeah, we don't really understand it. It's curious because like coyotes will attack and kill bobcats, food. But they said they don't really run into cases where coyotes are threatening badgers, probably because badgers will fight. I mean, a cat will fight too, but badgers, that weasel family, all the weasels, wolverines, otters, they're ferocious. Very ferocious. There's a nearby lagoon. Hey, Matt Tween, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in, man. Yeah, there's a nearby lagoon. I was thinking about going there and shooting, doing this live stream, but then it was kind of filled up with a lot of people. I didn't have any good places to go to really be like left alone, because then everyone wants to walk up and ask what you're doing and what you're shooting and all that. It's kind of annoying. But there's a lot of river otters in there, and I've spent a lot of time in that lagoon photographing river otters, and I've watched them hunt. They're very popular for being cute animals, but they are ferocious predators. And they will work together in groups in the families. They're pretty brutal. Yeah, it is, Matt Tween, it is. Sometimes I have to just get out of the office at home, get outside once in a while. Is there something over there? No, eyes playing tricks on me. Just a shrub with a lot of contrast. What I usually look for is just something that's, I don't always know if it's an animal, just something that stands out. Things I've learned like in the military is like when you're scanning the terrain, they kind of talk about like how your brain can work against you. So like they kind of recommend doing things like if you scan left to right with your left eye, and then go right to left with your right eye, because you keep looking. Because we do, all of us, I think, subconsciously have like a favorite eye or preferred eye. Like when you're shooting, if you're right-handed, you're probably going to be aiming with your right eye. I'm right-handed, but I actually prefer to aim with my left eye. But it's a weird like phenomenon with your brain and the way each eye can takes in information differently. And plus, going right to left, the motion you want to change with the motion. And so that was something I learned in both hunting and the military about, when you're scanning a horizon, looking for something that's just a bit out of place. And so I try to do that a little bit. It used to be something I did more subconscious. Now I have to kind of think about it. So obviously I'm not in the military anymore. I don't really hunt. But I try to. I don't need to hunt anymore. But I try to apply some of the things that I've learned in the past when I'm out here, because there's a lot of the same principles that come in handy. Yeah, lynx are ferocious hunters. Oh yeah, yep. We also have out here is I highly doubt I'll see one. They are very hard to see even in a clear field. It's a long-tailed weasel. They're about yay long. They're little buggers, very narrow fast. And those little suckers, I mean, they're taking down rabbits twice their size, big jackrabbits, like it's nothing. Even like a bobcat or a pair of weasels have been known to take down fawns, juvenile deer. What the weasels do is they will like pounce on the back of the rabbit and bite the back of its neck to sever the spinal cord. It's kind of crazy, like their instincts, how they learn how to do that. Like they may not understand like anatomy and biology like we do as humans, because we have, we learn it in school, and some people become medical professionals. They just instinctively know. You bite here, and they can't run away. Do another scan. There's a water hole down there, but it's kind of nasty. I don't see any animals going there for water. Maybe during the winter when the water's fresh, like the runoff from the hills. But right now it's really nasty. Yep, martins are weasels. Yep. We have those up more in the mountains, not out here on the coast. My wife had a martin follow her around when she was hiking one time. Someone had it in my head that Yosemite was closer to Seattle than San Francisco. Yeah, it's definitely not. What kind of shocked me out here in California was how many people live in the San Francisco area have never been to like Yosemite. In fact, they rarely leave the city. Yeah, martins eat weasels. Yeah, martins are big. Yeah, I mean, a mountain lion will eat a bobcat just because they're both feline. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're a predator. You're a prey if something's bigger than you. The underwater world, the fish world, is even more brutal, in my opinion. Actually, I don't think it's an opinion. It's probably a fact. All right. You can see that nasty watering hole down there. It's all dingy right now. Got a crow flying around me right now. So there is one mountain lion in this park. Only one photographer I know has actually got a photo of him. That right there looks like there's been elk rolling around. There's an elk herd around here. But anyways, yeah, there's one mountain lion that they know of. Tourists have gotten cell phone pictures of him. One photographer I knew captured him. Some people caught him on trail camera. I never anticipate seeing that sucker out here. I'll probably see a bear before I ever see the mountain lion. I've seen most of the critters out here, though, there in this park, except for that one. I've pretty much seen about all the owl species that live out here. The river otters, we got the coast, so we have the elephant seals, sea lions, harbor seals, fur seals. I've seen those. When they're in season, they come to shore. There is actually one thing I haven't seen out here is the great whites. We're next to the coast, and we have a lot of seals. There's actually a pretty good sized great white population. But I don't surf and I don't go near the water. I kayak, but I kayak in freshwater lakes. I can never get into ocean kayaking. I just know what swims around out there. I don't know if it's me being overly paranoid, but I think sharks are impressive creatures. I think they're impressive predators. I just prefer them from the safety of either I'm on a boat or I'm looking at them through the glass of an aquarium. I will never dive with one. I'll never get in those cages. I admire them for what they are, how long they survived as a species. But yeah, I would rather, and I have, come across a mother moose and her 2 offspring, which is pretty freaking dangerous. I still felt more confident coming across that moose in Yellowstone than I would even standing next to the water at a beach and seeing like a great white fin. That scares the hell out of me. And they've had surfers, they've had people go missing out here at this park at the beach. And they suspect it was sharks. And they've had some killed, so it's pretty serious. Back in college, I was working security for Landmark Graphics. There was a cougar that came every night and laid out in the front of the atrium. Man, I see clips of that. People got like their Ring cameras, and they have lions come lay on the porch like it's a cat, neighborhood cat. I have spent so much time out in this park looking, hoping, going where I'd hear about kills, like deer carcasses were spotted. And you know what, though? It would not surprise me on at least one occasion if the cat was out there sitting in a tree just watching me walk by. That would not surprise me one freaking bit. So all I spotted so far today was one coyote, there's a hawk hunting over there, though. I can hear him screeching. It'd be cool if he flew in a little bit closer. See if I can get him. See him up there? Oh, he's engaging another bird. And I can tell it's a hawk because I recognize the screech. Actually, there's a couple of them now. What the hell? I don't know if you can hear the screech. his hat off here. I know you're all probably just seeing the sky. You're like, what the hell? The tripod is not positioned the best for this right now. There he is. Yeah, they're circling about something. Check my batteries. Batteries. I'm gonna probably swap out one battery here in a bit. Everything else looks good. Where's the computer at? 62%. I got a little bit of time yet. I'll figure I'll probably run the stream as long as I have enough juice on the laptop. All I have right now, I don't have a mic on the camera. The only audio you're hearing is I got a Rode Wireless Micro, or wireless, what's it called? Give me a second here. It is the Rode Wireless Micro. So it's just the receiver just plugs in the USB-C on my laptop. And then I just have, here's one transmitter, but I have the other transmitter right here. So I use this mic for like calls with my phone, my MacBook for work. I've never really used it for something like this. I wanted a simple microphone system because I said this is all a test, this setup on what gear works. I mean, I don't want to bring out like my full condenser microphone setup and everything. So it'll be interesting when I go back home later and watch the stream and just kind of see how this sounds, what audio it picks up as far as the nature of the birds. Wait, I got something. Oh, coyote. Might be the same one from earlier. Just doing his rounds. I see some movement, I get really excited. I don't dislike coyotes, but I have seen so many of them out here, and sometimes the only animal I see, that it's like, I appreciate seeing nature, but at the same time, when I catch movement out of the corner of my eye, like what's going through my head is like bobcat, badger, you know, the rare ones, the harder ones to catch. And then I zoom in, it's a coyote. It's like, okay, not terrible, not what I was hoping for. Let me go check up over here. What we got over here? Is there anything that's clearing? You know, this isn't the fastest lens I've ever had. It goes from, when it's variable aperture, so when you're zooming, it goes from I think 4.5 to 6.3. And I don't like variable apertures very much. So I just actually set this lens at f8 all the time. So it's not really great for low light, but in general use cases, I like this lens. Huge zoom range. I'm fine with the image quality. Some people probably won't like it, but I've always liked this lens. What I forgot to grab from my truck is my binoculars. I usually, when I go out, I have a little set of binoculars. Now, a lot of people will carry binoculars. I like to go a little more compact and just have a binocular. It's a lot smaller. And I keep it in the center console of my truck usually. But I like to actually take that, I'll sit back with that, and I'll just scan the landscape. Because that doesn't use any battery power or anything like that. The only thing that you have to do is you have to manually focus it. But it's pretty lightweight. Just hold that in one hand, just kind of scan the landscape. Oh man. Trickster murder puppies, yeah, that's what they are. Sometimes they're cool to watch. It is cool to watch them when they're hunting the gophers, the groundhogs out here. Yeah, 'cause they jump up in the air and they dive in to the ground. And it's always kind of cool to try to photograph them when they're midair, their back is arched, and they're about ready to pounce. But more often than not, yeah, they're a little bit of a distraction. In some ways, kind of a deterrent too, because sometimes when you see a coyote, there's probably a pretty good chance you're not going to see a bobcat, because the bobcats will try to avoid them. Looking for the roadrunner. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, they can kind of like detect the vibrations of the gophers running underground, I guess. I think, between like their ears and like their paws have like, I don't know what the I want to call it sensors, but they're not computers, right? But they can detect, and so can bobcats too. They can feel the critters running underground in their tunnels. I can't imagine. I had a tick in my neck. Let's do a tick check when I get back to the van here. I hate those things. But yeah, I can't imagine being that sensitive. Obviously, they need it to hunt. But I just couldn't imagine feeling that much from the ground when little animals are moving. Do a quick check here. Might have crawled up my chair on me. That's the only thing, is when you're coming from the field, I always gotta look for those little freaking ticks. So I'll do that when I get back. I got my camper van with me. Part of it's got a nice big mirror actually on the inside. But I actually get in my van and strip right down. Make sure none of those little fuckers are hitching a ride. The downside though, some of my gear, they will do that crap sometimes. They'll get like a little pocket, little crevices inside your gear. So as I'm packing things up, I gotta do a check. And then when I get back home, I'll have to leave gear kind of out in the garage, not bring it in the house immediately. That's the one critter right there, one insect. Even more than mosquitoes. I would just love to see exterminated. That's a tick. Ah, I don't have much love for mosquitoes, but man, ticks, especially if the military, every morning, every evening doing tick checks, digging ticks out of the corner of your body that you don't want to ever tell your mother about. I don't know how I came out of the military without having Lyme disease, to be honest. God, all the time. That is the rub about doing, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, I've gotten ticks walking around the woods. So if I'm just sitting here doing a stream, I don't think I'm at higher risk than if I was walking. The little bastards will I'll see them too in the grass. They will crawl the top of the long grass and they hang there as the grass is blowing. They'll have like a leg or two out, just waiting for you to walk by, and they hook on a leg and get on your clothes. Nasty, nasty, nasty little insects. No love for them whatsoever. Thanks, BBL. Thanks for stopping in. Ugh, brown recluse. Those really freak me out. I think more than black widows. Like a black widow, you can get sick, but I think the recluses actually, they rot out your skin and everything. I actually came across a black widow the other day cleaning up my porch. In general, like, I don't know, black widows, it's like, I swear, I feel like brown recluses look for people to bite. It just seemed like that in North Carolina or South Carolina, Parris Island Marine Corps boot camp. I didn't go there, but I had friends that went there, and they talked about a lot of recruits would get bit while sleeping, and that just tripped me out. Like, I can see like getting bit by a black widow if you pick up something that's got its nest in, right, or its web in, you spook it. I could see how that would result in a bite from any creature, right? Any kind of spider. You disrupt its home and it bites back instinctively. The stuff I hear about recluses just sounds like they go out looking for people to bite. People would get bit on the head, their forehead, their heads would swell up. I hear all sorts of stories from Marines that went to Parris Island about that. So I did feel a little bit spoiled going to boot camp in San Diego and not having to deal with that crap. That and the sand fleas. I guess the sand fleas are pretty awful. Oh, the banana spiders. I've never come across those, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I guess ones that aren't always as bad either are like some of the scorpions in California. Like, you can get sick and get treated, but it's not like getting hit by a rattlesnake. In boot camp, we had a guy get stung by a scorpion. We're setting up in the field our first night, set up our tents, and he got stung by a scorpion. I guess the drill instructors were pretty familiar with like how dangerous scorpions really are or aren't. Guy got stung, and for those that don't know, in the Marine Corps, when you go to a drill instructor, you go to ask anything, to use the bathroom, anything. You have to request permission to speak. And then if they give you permission to speak, then you ask your question. Now, if they deny your request, you have to ask it again. And they might make you ask it 2 or 3 times, or if they're actually too impatient, they'll tell you to go away or make you do push-ups. But a guy got stung, running up to the drill instructor screaming that he got stung by a scorpion. And I got to admit, it's kind of like being a parent dealing with your kid when they first get like their little injury and they come to you crying, and you don't mirror their panic, their behavior back to them. Drill instructors kept their composure. They stood there and they made him request permission to speak. So he requested permission to speak, but he wasn't standing in the position of attention, so they made him request permission to speak again. They made him keep requesting permission to speak until he stood at attention properly. And then he informed them that he was stung by a scorpion. DI was like, "And? Is your tent up?" Basically, it's like they took him away, he got treated, he was fine. But I think like they knew he wasn't in immediate danger. And so they taught him a lesson. Um, I, like, not even I knew what to expect. I was like, oh shit, like they actually want to kill this guy. And then some people, we had a guy, it's different platoon, but he actually, I think, grew up in Texas. Like his family handled snakes, like a snake ranch, so he knew all about snakes and scorpions and spiders. He was actually, he told us, he's like, nah, he was actually fine. Like he would get sick and all that, but it's not immediate. It's not going to drop dead from cardiac arrest suddenly. It's actually a good thing to teach people to not panic like that, because obviously panicking can push the venom through your blood a lot quicker. So they're trying to teach them a lesson. Let's see, is there something else? Now I think my eye's playing tricks on me. No. I never had a tick incident until I was stationed in North Carolina. And that is when I got exposed to the joy of ticks. I guess we had them in Michigan too, but they were never an issue. That looks like see that ground right there? So I'll see these everywhere. Those are typically badger dens. Badgers don't seem to stay in the same den for too long. They're always digging new dens. But I would bet that's probably a badger den right there. Or at least it was a badger den at some point. Let's do another test here. Let's look around. Oh, nothing. It's kind of obviously a bummer. I didn't come out here to get nothing. I was hoping it'd make for a really cool stream. Do something a lot different, right? Not just sitting around, playing video games or talking about movies. Actually getting out. Now all I got now is just some turkey vultures flying around. But yeah, as BBL said earlier, my bobcat's probably behind me on the other side of that hill. Hey, Low Spec, how you doing, man? There's a bobcat named Rufus that lives at a wildlife exhibit in the park in town. He's too accustomed to humans in the wild. He was discovered as a kitten chilling with a group of barn kittens. Yeah, there's a little animal rescue near Sacramento that's got bobcats there that people had as pets. That were confiscated. Hey, Fadian, what have you missed? Well, nothing. You missed 2 coyotes and a couple hawks in the distance. So, really nothing else. There is a group of elk that kind of frequent in this area. It's about half a dozen bulls. I was hoping they would come out and say hi, but haven't seen them today. Now the elk are finally been freed in this park. So it's weird, this national park. For a long time, they kept all the elk in this park fenced in the northern part of the park. They put up a huge fence so they couldn't migrate. Well, the natural water sources up there are limited. And during some of the droughts, like, they estimated possibly hundreds of elk died from dehydration, which is really baffling to think. One, that's being allowed to happen in a national park. 2, they're being restricted to a peninsula. They live on a peninsula, so they're surrounded by salt water. They're surrounded by water they can't drink. So just imagine you're dying of thirst because you're stranded on a peninsula surrounded by water you can't drink. I mean, that's just the worst. Now, some elk have managed to somehow escape the boundaries over the years. So you've had some of these rogue herds out in the park here. Now, there's one that lived in this area. It's about 5 or 6 bulls. I was hoping to come across him today. But this past year, or this year, after lots of protests, a lot of petitioning, they finally got the Park Service to start tearing down the elk fence to let the elk migrate naturally. So I'm hoping to see like more scattered herds over time around this park. I don't live out here anymore. I used to live nearby, and I would spend every weekend out in this park. Now I live almost 3 hours away, 2.5 hours away. So this is a rare occasion I come all the way out here and spend time out here again. Probably only a few times a year. But yeah, I used to basically, when I worked at the studio, as long as I wasn't working the weekend, if I had the weekend off, I was out here. Either just doing photography or just straight up hiking. A lot of sunrises, sunsets out here. Some kayaking. So I like to come back here once in a while. Relive the past a little bit. Have a lot of good memories. I was always pissed off about them keeping the elk confined up north. So for those who don't know, this is the same park I did the waterfall thing at. No, this is Point Reyes. Here, I'll type in the chat here. It's a national park, national seashore, north of San Francisco. It's so there's been a lot of controversy around this park. So this is the only park that I've ever been to, national park, that is covered in barbed wire and dairy farms. So this land was dairy farmer land, and then I don't know, 50s or 60s. I don't remember the exact time frame. I'm sorry. The National Park Service did acquire this land and make it into a national park. The dairy farmers were given, I can't remember what it was, like hundreds of millions of dollars total, taxpayer money, in agreement that they would close down their dairy farms in like 20 or 25 years and relocate. Now, when the farms took up residence here, over 100 plus years ago, they practically hunted the elk to extinction. They wanted to make room on the land for their cows. So a lot of the elk were hunted out, the bears were hunted out. And now it being a national park, usually in national parks, the whole the intent is to restore the land back to its, original condition and keep it as natural as possible, what it was meant to be. Well, what happened was the dairy farmers I guess, do a battery swap here. It's almost dead. The dairy farmers started getting extensions on their original agreements. Like 5 or 10 year extensions that they didn't have to leave. That just went year after, or like every 5 years or whatever it was, the extension was for, kept on going. And people are kind of like, wait, you did agree to leave or, close down your farms or do whatever. And you've kept the money that was paid to you years ago. And so a lot of the people, a lot of tourists come from other countries, come here to this park to see it. And what they're surprised of, they're like, why are there so many cows? Like, this is a national park. There's barbed wire everywhere. A lot of the land is still technically, even though it's on national park land, still private because it still belongs to the dairy farmers. In fact, over this hill over here over that hill, is one of the dairy farms. There's cows on the other side of that hill right now. I'm surprised they didn't actually come over at some point. But it's like, how many national parks do you go to that have numerous active dairy farms? And so the dairy farmers, what they were doing at one point, this is where people started getting really irritated, was they were getting mad about these stray herds of elk eating the grass that they meant for the cows to eat. And so they were petitioning the Park Service to start shooting the stray elk. And a lot of people, including myself, were like, wait a minute. One, you were supposed to leave this park decades ago. Now you're wanting natural inhabitants to be shot to preserve the grass for your cows, which are, for all intents and purposes, kind of an invasive species in a ways. And so the Park Service, there was a lot of effort to preserve the watering holes for the cows, so the cows could get water. And listen, I don't want the cows to die of starvation either. Not starvation, but from drought, from thirst. But when you have natural inhabitants of the land, the elk were dying up north because they were being contained in this fenced-in area. A lot of people were just kind of like, what the hell is going on around here? This is not how a national park is supposed to be run. And I think what people have, I can't speak from personal experience, but people have said that you go to a national park, for the most part, and I've been to quite a few, you don't see barbed wire everywhere, restricting movement of animals, people. You might have restrictions by the Park Service saying, don't hike here, don't go here, but not for the sake of commercial farming. So I always liked coming out to this park. It was just something I enjoyed doing, but it always kind of irked me that it was like, yeah, this is a national park, but at the same time, it's also farmland. Yeah, pretty much. It's a whole peninsula. It's kind of like there's a North Peninsula and a South Peninsula. This is one of the areas that elephant seals come to in winter to breed. So I've spent a lot of time observing elephant seals, watching bull elephant seals fight on the beaches. It's pretty intense. There's also there's like it's an estuary, it's kind of like a lagoon, but it's filled by salt water. Do a lot of kayaking there. It's one of the bigger harbor seal breeding communities, breeding colonies. It's always interesting kayaking around juvenile harbor seals. They're very playful, like puppies. They like to swim up, run into your kayak to try to get on your kayak. So yeah, there's still like a lot of commercial businesses being run here, more than you would see in a normal national park. So it was a surprise this year, welcome surprise when the blue people start posting pictures saying, "Hey, the Park Service is tearing down the elk fence." I was like, "Man, about time." But the bears are slowly trying to migrate back. There's in Mendocino County, there's been some bears that have just naturally migrated down back in this area. For years, they would tranquilize them, catch them, and relocate them. Which I was like, listen, nature's going to migrate, do what it does. Just that's the thing too. It's like you're a national park. This used to be territory of black bears. So when black bears are naturally migrating back, isn't like part of your mandate to allow the natural migration to happen? I mean, at least other parks do that. But now I think so many have migrated back. There's it used to be like one bear would be spotted, everyone would freak out. And now there's a handful, not just in the park, but in the western part of the county. And I think they're slowly starting to reclaim their territory. I've seen tons of black bear in Yosemite. I've still yet to see one out here. That's something I hope I see before I leave the state, before I move away. Who knows when that's going to be, but let's do a quick check of the terrain. Well, probably not my day. What time is it? Almost 3 p.m. I should probably. Where's my battery levels at? It's getting down. Probably wrapping up pretty soon. I had luck with my Milky Way picks. Just get a lot of white screen at 30 seconds, 3200. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure with smart. I've never tried to do it with smartphones. Well, also too, you have to consider is the moon in view? So like right now, if I was to try to shoot the Milky Way, it wouldn't be good because the Milky Way is fairly close to the moon. I know the moon will blow everything out. And I was actually checking that the other night. I was wanting to get out. I got a lens, new lens for doing Milky Ways. Been dying to break in, but I'm waiting for the moon. Well, either definitely not have full moon. Ideally, be one or two things: either one, be behind me when I'm facing the Milky Way, or be completely outside the horizon. There's one of the barbed wires I'm talking about earlier. Barbed wire runs right. So for this farm, barbed wire comes down there, runs to this very heavy sagebrush down along there. But yeah, I'm getting back on topic. I do have a new lens for doing astro that I am dying to try out. I just got to check the my app, the calendar, kind of figure out when it's going to be appropriate. Not so far though. I think the setup for doing like these photography live streams, I kind of got figured out. Only thing I might have to work on is I might have to bring another power unit for the laptop here. Let me check the Starlink. So I have a interesting little battery unit picked up for the Starlink. It attaches to the bottom of the Starlink. It's supposed to give 6 to 9 hours. Let me see where the battery levels are at right now on it. Like right here is a wireless transmitter. So I have a wireless transmitter and receiver for my HDMI video. So that's what's getting the video from the camera over the computer. And these batteries I have are going really strong. Like if I check the battery levels, yeah, they're fine. Let's see what the Starlink's doing. Okay, battery level is, well, about 50%. A little above 50% right now. It's a compact battery. They said 6 to 9 hours. Realistically, how long have I been streaming now? I've been streaming an hour and a half. I'm almost down 50%. So maybe under consistent load. It's not going to last 6 hours, but if I can get, probably 2 hour stream out of it, that'll probably work. Yeah, so I did some power banks that I could use to help run the laptop and the Starlink longer. Of course, it's more weight I have to carry. I'm trying to reduce the weight as much as I can, try to simplify this whole setup. So I'm using these simple little Rode microphones because they're compact. So hopefully the audio sounds acceptable enough. So a quick scan. Yeah, I needed to get out though. work has been beating the shit out of me. The thing with AI, we're being pushed heavily now at work to integrate AI in every department. One problem I'm running into is I feel like AI is allowing people to make mistakes at a faster pace because they're trusting the data a little too much. And so that has been really draining me at work. And now we're at a point, too, where it more or less sounds like we're going to start being part of our performance reviews are now going to be based partly on how much we're using AI. So now they basically said something to the effect of, if you're behind, they're going to question if you're using AI effectively or whatever. So they find a way to attach your AI usage to your performance, which I think is kind of weird because how do you really quantify that? Because not every department will have the same amount of AI tools available to them that's reliable. And even within the departments, like I'm in engineering, but we have different departments within engineering. And not everyone would have the same equivalent of an AI tool to help them work faster. So it just feels like there's a lot, it doesn't feel like there is a lot of pressure that now your usage of AI is being tied to your performance, which I really feel that is a weird way to factor in someone's actual performance. Because you're pushing them to use AI, but I've seen AI make a lot of mistakes. A friend of mine works at a very large computer company with a fruity name to it. She's actually a former boss of mine. And she was telling me that she's been seeing people submitting code that she believes is generated with AI into their pipeline workflow in their department without testing it. She's like, I know not all of you will have like programming experience, but she's looking at the code people are submitting and there's no possible way it can work. It's referring to functionality that doesn't actually exist. It's like someone asked AI to solve a problem for them. And since the AI couldn't find the actual code to do it, it basically generated code that theoretically, if you read it, you're like, oh, that sounds like, that looks like something that would make total sense. Function names, functions that would do a specific task. Oh, wow, there's a function for that. Because it would make sense. But the reality is, these functions don't exist. And she was like, yeah, I'm finding them, they're submitting stuff that can't run. And the only reason, but it looks clean, it looks nicely formatted, which AI generated code will do that, but it's not functional. But if these people are getting like, here's the thing I've seen people quickly release apps. Like someone would come to me like, how long would it take to write a tool that does this task? And I'd say that'd probably take 3 weeks. Well, they don't like that answer. So then there was this kiss ass I used to work with. He'd be like, well, I can do it in 3 days. And he would do it in 3 days. But he would release a piece of shit in 3 days that needed numerous patches, needed other people to fix the code on. However, his loser of a boss, and I blame the boss because the boss enabled this behavior, as far as what his boss was going off, I was like, well, he did this in 3 days, and the other guy said it's going to take 3 weeks. So clearly he's better. Well, I would have taken 3 weeks because I would have put it through testing, evaluation, review. So when I release the software, it's not buggy to high hell. It's not crashing left and right. So this guy gets the kudos for finishing a project in 3 days. And they make me look like incompetent because I told them 3 weeks. But they completely omit the fact that what he released was broken. Pretty much like your AAA games, right? They hammer out these poorly developed games, like, oh, look at the time frame we did it, but then it needs 3 years of patches before it becomes somewhat playable and useful. And so what I'm seeing is the same thing with like AI. These people are being told like, oh, you can use AI and finish this task, like submit this code in under a week. And so people crank out a bunch of AI generated code, and they're getting the kudos for submitting on time, but no one's actually taking the step back and actually looking like, wait, but you submitted stuff that doesn't work, which is going to take more time to debug, more time to fix. So it's a really bizarre metric to start judging people on their usage of AI. And I was even told by higher ups, like when you do your reviews with management, they're going to ask what AI tools. When you get done with the project, they want to know what AI tools that you've used to complete the project. And I think that is kind of I can see if you're just curious, like, did AI help you on this? Well, no, because there's no AI tool that works in this context. Okay, would that be fair? But how they're kind of presenting it is, you better have used an AI tool on a project to work faster. And it's like, so you're forcing us to possibly use tools, because I believe in the right tool for the right job. If there's not a right AI tool to do this job, why should I be forced to use one just because you want to hear me say that I used AI to do my job? I kind of feel, and they keep insisting, oh, we're not doing this to replace people. There's no intent to replace people. I really feel like they're trying to find people who can work really fast using mostly AI, and those people are going to work themselves out of a job, in my honest opinion. Despite management sitting there and saying, nope, 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 that's not the intent, that's not the intent. Why wouldn't it be in the intent? If you can AI the shit out of someone's job, why would you keep that person around paying them $250,000, $300,000 a year? I don't know. I have less than a year left with this company, fulfill terms of my contract, get my full payout. It's going to be a long year, folks. Oh God, it's like I wanted to like get on some streams again. I want to do more creative stuff like this, right? I was also going to play video games, but man, I was getting off work and like I don't even want to look at a freaking computer. Some people wanted me to join some streams and talk about AI and movies, and I was like, I can't, because it's not even like a point of like entertainment for me. The hell happened? Oh, I'm looking at the sky. That's why my screen was white. It's something that stresses me out. I'm losing a lot of sleep over this. And I feel like my job right now isn't really AI-able because I'm spending a lot of time working very late hours fixing mistakes that have been caused by people that I think were using AI. So maybe I am yet not fully replaceable. Until they get people to stop screwing up at AI, then they get rid of me. I don't know. It's definitely, it's not filling me with a lot of confidence as far as work goes, my future. So today it's like I got to get out. And I'm just staring at an empty valley with the occasional coyote and a vulture flying by. I need to get away. But then I thought too, maybe I'll just try to stream, because I haven't really talked to anyone in a while. My old man watches my streams, and he even called me the other day. He's like, "You haven't been streaming lately." I was like, "Dude, I haven't felt like it." Oh man, the same with DI. They spent 7% of their training time teaching DI and affected people's knowledge of their jobs. Yeah, I used to see the same thing a lot. I have no patience for that. No, my patience is running out. I predicted my company being laid off. My coworkers laughed at me. Then it happened exactly when I said it would. You know, I had this thing, Mars Monkey, is I'll come up with scenarios that might happen. I'll tell my boss. Actually, I like my immediate boss I report to. I actually do like the guy. I'll come across something being like, if we don't address this is an issue that could happen. He goes, yeah, I hear you saying we got a lot of priorities though. Maybe we don't look at it. And then it happens. And he's pretty much gotten to the point where he said more often than not, he goes, you've predicted the future in very scary ways that I didn't see coming. And I just see scenarios play out, and I want to be wrong, but it's like when things start coming together, I get kind of worried. It's like, man, I wish I didn't have this ability. I wish the future I could predict was the stock market. I can't seem to predict that, but I can seem to predict when bad things are going to happen, at least in the workplace. I had the same X 20 years ago at a company. I got out a month before bankrupt. Yep. No, he's terrible at typing. You ever seen like when old people when they type? So he abbreviates lots of words that don't have abbreviations, and you're like, what? He'd be like, well, it makes sense to me. I'm like, well, Dad, it literally doesn't make sense to anyone else. You can't type like that. Check battery levels. Okay, getting down to the 30s in the laptop. All right, I'm going to do a quick scan. I think I might. How long have I been running now? 11 minutes. I'll go to 2 hours. This is a good test to see like how long I could run this laptop at full charge. I try to bring down some of the power usage. It's hard though. I have to leave the screen on, right? So this is an interesting test of how far I can push this gear outdoors. And then the battery pack for the Starlink. Let's see what that's at. Oh, let's see where the battery's at. It says, still says above 50%. So hopefully I don't kill the stream of the internet. Let's see if I can bring this around and show you all. God, I hope I don't screw this up. There it is. Getting the camera. All right, so this is this battery pack I picked up. It's supposed to give up to 6 to 9 hours. Probably streaming maybe 3-4 hours of power to a Starlink Mini. So the one problem I have with this is they didn't put a 1/4 inch like screw thread, so you could put it like on top of a tripod. So this has to sit right on the ground. And hopefully me moving around doesn't kill the stream. Get it back in place. It'll probably be okay. I mean, the Starlink Mini in my van, I've been driving around the highway and that keeps its signal pretty well. So and I still have to go back to my van and do 30-minute tick check. Nasty little bastards. I'll do one more check of the landscape. I was hoping for one bobcat, One bobcat or one elk would have been really nice. I saw some elk down the road when I was driving up here. But yeah, I'm hoping this summer, if this actually works out, doing this kind of stuff, is do these kind of streams where I do a little setup with the camera view and everything. Obviously, it's kind of tricky. Like I can't really like walk around, even though this wireless transmitter does have pretty decent range. I'm not sure about the wireless mic. But this is a concept thing. I'm been playing around with the idea. Is just going out and I used to do videos on this channel where I'd have like GoPros and everything, and I'd record crap ton of footage, come home, try to edit out a video of the experience, and I started thinking maybe try something a little different. Actually, bring people out with me on little trips. The only tough thing is like, at least when I used to make the videos with my GoPros, if I didn't have like a good day, like I spotted no animals, I would just like format all the memory cards and be like, ah, screw it, right? That won't make good content. So it's definitely, I think, riskier in some ways for a stream to do like a wildlife photography, because obviously I can't really control this. Now, if I do something else, let's say I want to go out at night and do some astrophotography, some light painting, light trails, that I think could be maybe more interactive, because as long as I think I have more control over the content, over the subject matter. Now, wildlife photography is a tough one. You don't have any control. And the only thing I can do is pick a spot and hope for the best. And the spots I'm picking are based on my experience out here. So I've had good experiences out here, but I've had plenty of trips that I came up dry. Nothing. And I've had some days in this park I come out here, I see 10 or 12 bobcats. And it's like, for those of you that have been done fishing, it's like fishing, right? You can go to that same watering hole that you've had great luck at, sit out there all day long and not get anything. Same thing with wildlife photography. But at least, it's weather's nice. It feels good to be out here. It's a great view. It's peaceful. And hopefully this is maybe one of the more unique streams, even if it's boring. Even if it's boring because I didn't see a damn thing. Hopefully it's a little more unique and different than like everything else, right? That I didn't want to be like another streamer on YouTube. Change things up a bit, keep people on their toes. Like I'm sure Fading, every time he sees me probably every time now you see my streams come online, he's thinking, what on earth could it be? Game stream, art stream. I think last time I tried painting and it went terrible. I do want to get back into that though. I do miss drawing. Now photography streams. If anything, I can at least keep people on their toes. I certainly won't have a fixed schedule like Film Threat or Echo Base. But hopefully just being unique is enough like that, where people don't quite know what to expect, so that's the adventure. I mean, hell, we could have been sitting here today and I could have had one of those rare black bears walk over that hill. The mountain lion could have come around the corner. That would have been great. A little bit scary, but that would have been great. Oh, man. Let's see here. Hey, Sergeant Giratina. No, I'm in Western California. Nope, all by myself. All by myself. Yeah, Mars, I used to fish all the time as a kid too. Loved it. There's a little park in Scottville, Michigan, where I grew up. Little one stoplight town in Michigan. A little park called Riverside Park. And I used to figure out, and so it was a river, right? But the river also fed like this pond. It was a fairly deep pond. And I figured out that the orange and silver little Cleo spoons, there were northern pike in that pond. I would tear up the northern pikes. I used to spend my summers as a kid, and it's all catch and release. I would go down there, I would just catch northern pike all day long. And the occasional catfish. I haven't fished in a long time. I've actually thought about getting into fly fishing just because it's one more excuse to go up to the mountains. Because I go up to the mountains and I camp out by a lot of rivers and streams. And I do see a lot of fly fishermen in there. Not that I need another freaking hobby, but I've never tried fly fishing. And you can only fly fish in these rivers. It's all, and like if you go to like Yellowstone, they only allow fly fishing. So I've actually thought about trying to take up fly fishing. One, bucket list. Two, just excuse. It's like total excuse to go off and get into the mountains and camp out next to a river. Not that I really need much of an excuse. I do it anyways, but why not have one more excuse? Yeah, I'm in a national park in California here, Giratina. It's a smaller one on the coast. I wish I was in Montana or Wyoming. I want to get back there. I actually got a friend, he was just in Yellowstone. He had a great trip. He was kind of like me. He's had a couple trips to Yellowstone where he went and he didn't get anything. Oh, not much. This last trip, he must have got 30 some grizzly bears, tons of moose. He even got, it was very shaky telephoto footage, but even got a family of wolves coming out of their den. I'm happy for him that he got that. A little bit envious, but he's like me. He's been working hard the past couple of years. He actually works at Facebook, getting his butt kicked in, and he finally got a long vacation. You know, got himself a nice cottage, and he's been out there tearing it up, just every day, just posting photos. I'm like, dude, good for you, man. I am so jealous. Ah, man. Oh yeah, yeah. Yellowstone's basically the whole thing is a volcano. There's volcanic activity everywhere around that park. Some cool stuff though. You know, he's a good dude, and I guess it pays really well. Um, I don't know. I interviewed at Facebook. To this day, Facebook is the worst interview I've ever had in my life, anywhere. And when I told him about my experience, he's like, "Yeah, some of them they do run interviews like that." So, yeah. All right, we're at 2 hours. I'm gonna do one more scan of the terrain because the MacBook is now down to 28%. So yeah, it looks like the laptop is the one thing that has a hard time out here. Looks like the video might be a bit jerky too. Doesn't feel too warm though. I think it's overheating. So let's do one more scan and then I'm gonna wrap up the stream. And I honestly don't know if I'll be on tonight or not. Got some stuff to take care of around the house. I was going to give you all a little update on the diet progress. The too long didn't read is it's going well. I haven't lost a ton of weight, but I am losing weight. I have made good adjustments to my diet. I am not relying on any supplements. in general, it's all going good. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. I'm down almost 10 pounds over a few weeks. I'm not trying to lose too much, right? I'm not trying to make it a race. If it's just a few pounds a week, I'm still losing weight. And that's what's been. It's been dropping off a few pounds. I do weigh and record myself in my app almost every day. And there's been like little spikes where it's gone back up a little bit. But in general, the overall process is I'm still losing weight. And that's the important part. It is going in the right direction. But unfortunately, everyone, I don't think I could show you anything cool today. I was really hoping. Yeah, I was really hoping to at least get a bobcat. But looks like that won't be happening. And so far, I think this setup's mostly manageable. I got to figure out how to get more juice for the laptop. Everything else I think holds out pretty well. I want to do like 3 or 4 hour streams doing wildlife photography. I think everything but the laptop will hold out for that. So I got to figure out some powering options for this device. My first interview was for a hotel. I had an interview once where the lady, she admitted to me she can never keep people. She goes, everyone quits within 2 months. I'm like, well, that's a red flag. See ya. Oh, yeah. Give me just a moment here. I'll say my goodbyes to everyone. Thank everyone for stopping in, of course. Me and my random streams, I don't really plan out too well, but hey, I guess that's life. I guess if you want a normal streamer, you had plenty of options on YouTube, but for some reason, you picked me. Who knows why. All right. Cool. Well, everyone, thanks for stopping in. I know I've been quiet. Kind of give you a little update. It's just nice to get back out here and touch some grass and breathe the fresh air again. So I'm still around, still kicking. Just, like a lot of you, just dealing with life. All the bullshit involved in that. So well, I'm going to pack up here, get back to my van, strip down butt ass naked and check for ticks. No, I will not live stream that, you perverts. Kind of go through my bags too. The little fuckers like to hide in nooks and crannies in your gear. I hate that part. But overall, sorry I couldn't show you anything cool like a bobcat, but I hope you appreciated something a little different, a lot of the ordinary. That's what I do best.